Is good you? It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're gonna be talking about how Shaquille O'Neal is expensive, extremely expensive in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM, and why I don't believe you can even make the case he's worth locking in for. Now, before we dive any further into that, if you're on the way to get Shaq, don't let this video by itself sway you and be like, oh, maybe I should sell back everybody. Do what you want to do. But I think it's important that people know how expensive Shaquille O'Neal truly is. Now, the way I'm going to start with explaining this is MT, and then we're going to start, and then we'll go towards VC. Now, when you talk about MT, okay, there's 6 sets, okay? And in each set, everything is basically identical, okay? And I'm not saying, you know, it's a good or bad thing that everything is identical, but it's not like, you know, some sets are going to be a lot more expensive than others. Everything is basically the same price when you're looking at these sets. I mean, there are going to be maybe some cards that are a little different, but when I look at things, okay, cards in this set combined, you're looking at 225,000 MT. Just for one card in J.R. Smith, 225,000 MT. Now, the issue I see with that is you got to take that times 6, and then you're looking at basically 1.3 million MT for Shaq. Now, yes, you can grind out some of the cards. If we go in here, you can grind out some of the cards. But even if you grind out all of these cards, you're probably saving max per set. I mean, 25,000 MT, so you take that times 6. Okay, sure, you might get $150,000 discount, 150,000 MT discount, and then you're still looking at 1.2 million MT for Shaquille O'Neal. So yes, he is ridiculously expensive, okay? And I get it. Along the way, you get some cards, right? So along the way, if you lock it in, you'll get J.R. Smith, you'll get Ben Wallace, you'll get Dirk, you'll get Devin Booker, you'll get Damian Lillard. You'll get some solid cards. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But all that MT then gets locked in, and that makes things really difficult. Now, to get him VC-wise, you got to lock in all of this MT. So it's about 101,000 for each and every one of these sets. Everything is basically the same, which again, is that ridiculously expensive by itself? No, okay? But when you combine it, you're looking at basically 607,000 VC, okay? And that's basically looking at $150. Now, yes, okay, in the grand scheme of things, is $150 that much over the course of 3 weeks? Depends on who you ask. For me, $150, that can fill up, I mean, my car doesn't hold that much gas, but here's what I'll say, okay? That could get me 50, nearly 40 gallons of gas, okay? That can get me through a lot of weeks. That can buy my groceries for a couple weeks. Again, I don't have a whole family, but that can give me groceries for a couple of weeks. That can do a lot of things. So that's the whole thing when I'm like, okay, Shaq is expensive. Shaq is extremely expensive. Now, let's say you have a salary job and you make, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number. I'm not pocket watching, but $50,000 a year. Okay, is Shaq that expensive in the grand scheme of things then? I mean, again, it just depends on who you ask and how loose they are with their money. Because for me, I hate spending money, okay? So when you're wanting me to spend $150 on Shaquille O'Neal, when we'll probably get an Anthony Davis, Kristaps, a guy that can compete with him in the very near future, I have a tough time doing that. And I know Shaq is going to be so good when he comes out. I know he's probably going to dominate the game. I'm not going to sit here and argue against that because I know that's probably the way things are going to happen. That's probably the way things are trending. But I just have a really tough time seeing Shaq ultimately be worth it. I mean, you're looking at basically $150 or 1.4 million MT. And I get it. Devin Booker, people argue he's the best shooting guard in the game. I get it. Damian Lillard probably is the top 2 point guard in the game at the time I'm recording this. So you do get a lot of solid players with it. But how many of these rubies, how many of these sapphires are gonna play for you guys? That's the big question. Yes, Iggy plays probably, but outside of Andre Iguodala, how many of these cards are really gonna play for you guys? It's not like you get Scottie Pippen, who I think is the best small forward in the game with it. It's not like you get that much. So, I mean, I don't think Shaq's worth it. I locked in for T-Mac for what? I mean, he was probably 500,000 MT, a little over. But my whole thing with T-Mac is, okay, I get a top 3 shooting guard in the game in T-Mac, and I get the best small forward in the game in Scottie. So that's kind of the main reason I locked in for Scottie Pippen. And I get Shaq's probably going to be better than both of them, and you get really 2 really good shooting guards. You get a top 2 point guard in the game. So you can say it's worth it. But when you're locking in all that MT, I just have a really tough time doing that. That's just kind of, again, my opinion on things and just kind of my approach to things. I think it's more worth it to get, let's say, Shaq than like Jason Tatum and Chris Webber and Klay Thompson. Probably. But if I'm you guys, I would encourage you guys probably to just save your MT, save your money. See what we get on Friday. Because a lot of times what 2K will do, and this is, again, my opinion, but they'll drop Shaq on Wednesday, right? So on Wednesday, we'll get Shaquille O'Neal. And then come Friday, we'll get a really good big that can compete with Shaq. Whether it's Kristaps, whether it's Anthony Davis. Some other guys you could see, you never know. We could see like a Joel Embiid card that is really good. We could see even a Kevin Garnett card that can compete. Or on Friday, what happens if we see Wilt Chamberlain? That's nearly just as good as Shaq. That's the troublesome part with Shaq. And I know Wilt might be 500K. But would you rather pay 500K for Wilt or 1.5K or 1.5 million for Shaq? That's kind of the big question I would encourage you guys to look at. Ultimately, guys, I'll say this all year long. Don't let me tell you guys what to do, okay? Take what I say, use it for whatever you guys want, okay? So Shaq's not worth it for me. Does that mean he's not worth it for you guys? No, and I'm not saying that. Shaq could be worth it for you guys. But for me, he's not worth it. I would much rather get T-Mac and much rather, just save the rest of my MT, save my money than getting Shaq. Because ultimately, guys, unless you really like working out in the post, unless you really like mashing, are you really going to have that much fun with Shaq anyways? It's not like, Shaq's going to be able to shoot threes. It's not like Shaq's going to be, out there moving like a Devin Booker. Yes, you get Devin Booker along the way, but it's not like he's LeBron James. Yes, Shaq's going to be good. He probably will dominate the game. But how many of your peers are going to get Shaq? That's another question I have to ask. You might come up against Shaq 1 out of every 10 games, but how many people are going to have Shaq that you play against? Not many. And then if you beat Shaq, you beat somebody who has spent money on the game, and you beat him with your maybe it's nobody spent squad or way less money spent squad. How rewarding is it going to be when this Giannis beats Shaq? When this, Julius Randle beats Shaq. That's gonna be so much more rewarding when even Magic Johnson is out there dogging Shaq and you get wins against him. That is just gonna be so much more rewarding for you guys. Even for you guys that don't have T-Mac. It's probably more rewarding if you're out there using Desmond Bane or Kyle Korver and beating Tracy McGrady, who most people who have T-Mac have spent money on. So again, that's just something I would encourage you guys. It's always fun for me to beat teams that are better than mine. Now, that's kind of tough for me right now because I have one of the best squads in the game. But even on my No Money Spent squad series, when I'm out there using, let's say, Desmond Bane or let's say Mike Miller, and I'm beating people with T-Mac, beating people with Devin Booker, it is so much more rewarding to me. Shaq is ridiculously expensive, guys. And the biggest thing I would say with Shaq is, you not only have to get Shaq, but then what happens when a good promo comes out on Friday? And then what happens when the next 2 or 3 week event card is really good? Are you guys going to continue spending money on the game? And if that's you, I just think you're setting yourself up for kind of failure in my team. Now, again, if you want to go get some of these cards, go get Devin Booker by himself. Like, again, I don't necessarily recommend it, but by the time you go get Devin Booker by himself, I mean, yes, he is still going to be a lot of MT, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as if you went and you got Shaq. Like Devin Booker, even if I have these two, is still over 200,000 MT. So that's just kind of the tough part is if you're buying all these with VC, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're buying them with MT, it's a lot harder to do. But again, you're setting yourself up for failure. So again, just kind of be careful when you're spending money on the game. Don't let it get down that slippery slope. Because I've seen people spend tens and thousands of dollars on this game. And if you think, oh, Shaq's only $150. Oh, T-Mac's only, whatever he was, $60. Well, just like that, in the first 3 weeks, you might be $300 and $400 down the road and have the best team in the game and think, oh, each of these is not that bad. But by the time you get through a month and you spend $1,000, then you'll notice it's really catching up to you guys. So don't think you always need the best team in the game. If you want Shaq, do what you got to do. But just kind of be careful. It is a slippery slope when you start buying players, and especially if you're trying to keep up with collector level. I would definitely not recommend doing that. That's going to wrap it up for our video today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you are new. And as always, man, I love you guys, and have a blessed day.